All right, let's look at estimating error with partial sum and using partial sums to approximate the sum of a series. I'm not going to look at LaGrange in this lesson. I'm going to look at alternating series and series that can be shown to converge by the integral test. And if you want a fill-in-the-blanks sheet to print and follow along with, you can go to that bit.ly link. So let's get on with the lesson here. And so what we're going to be doing is using partial sums to approximate a series sum. So here we have a convergent series, 1 over n squared. That converges by the p-series test. P is greater than 1. And if I wanted to use the first 4 terms, this sum would be approximately 1 over 1 squared plus 1 over 2 squared plus 1 over 3 squared. Whoops! 3 squared and 1 over 4 squared. And so that's approximately the sum of that series, but it's not exact because I left off a lot of terms. And what we're going to try to do is estimate the error in that partial sum. And the error, the exact error, is always going to be the sum of all of the terms I did not include. So if I went on and wrote a couple more, and this series does go on forever, all of these terms that I did not include in my approximation would be the error, and that is also called the remainder. Whoops, I don't want that. There we go. So we'll call that the remainder. And our challenge is going to be to approximate what that remainder is, because if I can approximate or get an upper bound on what that remainder is, then I can know how accurate my partial sum is. And so let's talk about a little bit of notation, a little bit of common notations we use with series. The capital S with no subscript is the actual sum of the whole series. S sub n is a partial sum where you use the first n terms of a series. So this example right here, when I added the first 4 terms, this would be S sub 4. And R sub n is the remainder in using S sub n. And so this remainder right here, I could have called that R, and in this case, I'll be R sub 4 because I used the first 4 terms for the approximation. And then the absolute value of that remainder is the error that we're trying to get an upper bound on. We're trying to approximate what that magnitude is. If your series is always positive, then we wouldn't need the absolute values around the R sub n. However, in alternating series, the absolute values can come into place. So that's why the absolute values are there. And let's talk about series that can be shown to converge by the integral test. And on this sheet, I left out a very, very key word. We are finding the maximum possible error. We're not getting the exact error, so make sure you squeeze the word maximum there. And with series that can converge by the integral test, if you use, say, the first 5 terms to approximate the series sum, then you would find the improper integral from 5 to infinity. So the potential error in the nth partial sum is that improper integral. And we're going to look at this graphically to explain why this works. And I'm not going to get really, really super duper deep into details with this, but just enough so that it makes some sense. But let's just say this is some series, and my series, I want to approximate the sum from 1 to infinity of a sub n, where f of x is like a sub x, so the correlation between f of x and a right there. And I want to approximate that with adding only the first 3 terms. So let's say I want to do a1 plus a2 plus a3, and I'm using s sub 3 to approximate that. And what I've done here is I've kind of illustrated this with a right-hand Riemann sum, where I just found the sum of the first 3 terms to approximate everything. Well, my error is going to be everything I omitted. A sub 4, a sub 5, and so on and so forth. There is the remainder. And my error, the magnitude of that remainder, if you look at the picture here, all of these terms, these areas right here, that is R sub n. And I think it's pretty easy to look at those rectangles and tell that the areas of those rectangles, if I add them all up, it is indeed less than the actual area under the curve. We have a decreasing function with right-hand Riemann sums. Therefore, that remainder is always going to be less than the improper integral from n to infinity of f of x dx. So there's a very brief overview looking at the area and Riemann sums for why this inequality works. And right now we're going to put it into practice a couple of times. So let's look at this. I want to find, I'm going to estimate the sum of this series using s sub 5. So s sub 5 would be 1 over 1 squared plus 1 over 2 squared plus 1 over 3 squared plus 1 over 4 squared and 1 over 5 squared. And I went ahead and punched this in a calculator, and that approximation is approximately 1.4636. Now the question is, how far is that from the actual sum? Can we kind of get a window that I know the sum must fall into? And the answer is yes, we can find that. And we'll find that remainder. So the remainder in using those five terms, is less than the improper integral from 5 to infinity of 1 over x squared dx. And we're going to see what that improper integral equals. And so first thing we're going to do is convert that to a limit. So I'm going to make sure I appease the gods of math. You're not supposed to treat infinity like a number. So I'm going to turn this into a limit. 5 to a of 1 over x squared dx. And at this point in your calculus careers, you should be able to find antiderivatives pretty easily. That is a negative 1 over x from 5 to a. And I would make that negative 1 over a, plug in the a first, minus a negative 1 over 5. And I'm doing this part kind of quickly because I assume that y'all can do antiderivatives. Okay, so now I'm finally to the limit. And as a goes to infinity, this term is going to approach 0, minus the 1 over 5. That is a positive 1 over 5, which is 0.2. I very seldom go to decimals, but I am here. Okay. So with that improper integral, I have found out that this partial sum up here, the 1.4636, that is within 0.2 of the actual sum. And so now that I know what the error approximation is, I can say that the sum of the series must be less than my approximation, 1.4636, plus the maximum error. So the largest the error can be is 0.2. And then I also know that the sum would be greater than my approximation minus that error. And so we can get that inequality down to 1.2636 is less than the sum of the actual series is less than 1.6636. And so now I have a window from 1.2 to 1.6. I don't know exactly what this sum is, but it has to be between those two numbers. So finding that error, we can add and subtract it from both ends of our approximation. Add and subtract it from our approximation to get the ends of the interval. But sometimes we can go a little bit more precise, and this series is always positive. So I don't know what the sum of this series is, but I do know that the sum is greater than my approximation. And since the series is always positive, I really don't need to subtract on that end because it's not going to get smaller. If I add more terms, we're not going to have a smaller actual sum. And so we could not subtract that and actually narrow that approximation to somewhere between 1.4636 and 1.6636. So we have a smaller window now that we know the sum falls somewhere between those two. Let's look at one more with the integral test, and then we'll talk about alternating series. How many terms are needed to approximate this with an error less than 0.01? And so here we don't know how many terms. Last time I gave you the number of terms. This time we don't know. What does n need to be? And so what we'll do is we'll solve the improper integral, and we'll just leave that n as a variable, 1 over x cubed dx, and we need that to be less than 0.01. So I'm going to keep that inequality in the back of my mind. Let's address this improper integral. Limit as a goes to infinity into a of 1 over x cubed dx, and that antiderivative ends up being negative 1 over 2x squared, evaluated from n to a, negative 1 over, plug in the a, minus negative 1, plug in the n, and let's bring that limit back, and let's evaluate this improper integral. 1 over 2a squared will approach 0, minus the negative, so that's 1 over 2n squared is the answer to the improper integral, but now we need to figure out what does n need to be so that this integral, that improper integral, gives you an answer less than 0.01. So I'm going to take both of these, and I'm now going to consider the inequality. I need 1 over 2n squared to be less than 0.01, which is 1/100th. Good. which is going to happen, let's see, I need a larger denominator, right? So if that's going to happen when 2n squared is greater than 100. Right? So 1 over 2n squared would be less than 1 over 100 when this denominator is smaller, is bigger than that one. N squared needs to be greater than 50, and that's going to be when n is greater than the square root of 7. And the square root of 7 is between 7 and 8. So I don't know exactly what square root of 7 is, but it's 7 point something. That means, holy cow, that's the square root of 50. I'm jumping the gun. Okay, there we go. So the square root of 50, and the square root of 50 is slightly more than 7. That means 7 terms isn't quite enough, and so we're going to have to go all the way to the 8th term. N equals 8, so we need 8 terms to accomplish this degree of accuracy. Cool, so 7 wasn't quite enough. Need to go all the way to that 8th term. All right, so let's talk about alternating series, and this one is much more convenient. This is so much easier compared to that integral test. So let's say we have an alternating series that does converge, and if an alternating series converges, that means that the terms of your alternating series decrease in magnitude to 0. That is one sentence that includes, that summarizes the alternating series test. You need the terms to approach 0, and you need them to decrease, and the n magnitude is factoring in the absolute value part of that. So we're not considering the alternating aspects, just the terms are decreasing to 0. And this is a phrase that if you're taking AP Calculus, you might need to actually write that phrase in a free response question if you're going to use the alternating series error bound. And so the terms decrease in magnitude to 0. And then the easy part of this is the error in using a partial sum to approximate an alternating series is less than the magnitude of a sub n plus 1, or the absolute value of a sub n plus 1, which simply means look at your first omitted term. So if you do the sum of the first 5 terms to approximate an alternating series, the value of the 6th term is your max error. It's very easy. There's not a whole lot of math to it, not like the integral test where you have all of this work. So let's put this into practice a little bit. And let's look at this one. So we have negative 1 to the n over n cubed plus 1. That will indeed converge. Those terms do decrease in magnitude to 0. And sum of the first 5 is going to be, let's see, if I plug in 1 for n, that's going to be a negative term to start off with. So negative 1 over 1 cubed plus 1 plus, and it's going to alternate after that, 1 over 2 cubed plus 1. That's 8 plus 1 is 9, minus 1 over 3 cubed plus 1 is 28, plus 1 over 4 cubed is 64 plus 1 is 65, and then 5 cubed is 125 plus 1 is 126. And just like I did on that last problem, I've gone ahead and punched this in a calculator to get an approximation. That ends up being negative 0.41716. Okay, and then the question is, what is the error? So the error, the magnitude of the error, and in this case, you could say the remainder in using those first 5 terms, it's less than your very first omitted term. So what term did I not include first? Well, my next term would be 1 over 6 cubed plus 1, and 6 cubed is 216. Holy cow, it's 216, right? 36 times, yeah, 216, wow. And so that plus 1 is 217. And so there is your maximum error. The error is at most 1 over 217. And so that's all there is to your alternating series error approximation. You just look at that first term that you did not include, and that is the maximum of your error. And since 1 over 217 was, since that term was already positive anyway, I didn't need the absolute values. But if it were negative, we would just discard that negative and keep the magnitude of that term. And then I have one more, similar to the one we did with the integral test a minute ago. How many terms do I need to approximate this with an error less than 0.001? And I really like fractions. 0.001, there it was. I was waiting for that hiccup. I knew it was in there somewhere. 1 over 1,000. So I want my error, the magnitude of my error, to be less than 1 over 1,000. Well, in this case, what we're going to do is we're just going to start writing out the terms until I find a term that is smaller than 1 over 1,000. So let's start with n equals 1. Let's see, so negative 1 to the 1, that's going to be a positive first term. So 1 over 1. Then it's going to alternate after that. minus 1 over 2 factorial plus 1 over 3 factorial, which is 6, minus 1 over 4 factorial, which is 24, plus 1 over 5 factorial, which is 120. And I'm waiting till I get to a term that is smaller than 1 over 1,000. And so then I'm 1 over 6 factorial, which is 720. We're getting really close to 1,000 down there. The next one will do it. And that next term is 50, 40, 1 over 5,040. And it does continue, but right there, I have my term. That is my first term in this series that is actually less than 1 over 1,000. But remember, that's your first omitted term. We don't include that. So we actually are going to find the sum of everything up to that 1 over 50, 40, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 terms needed. And there you go. So you just look for that first term that has the accuracy that you want. And all things series error approximation, very convenient, very nice. And that is it for this lesson. Thank you very much.